Hey guys, welcome to the Sports Stance Podcast with Greg and James. I'm the second part, and with me, as always, there's rumors that the Celtics are going to sign him to start small forward next week. It's Greg Cowan, everybody. What's happening, baby?
Doing pretty good. Wrapping the ankles, making sure they're tight, making sure they don't go anywhere.
You wearing high top sneakers?
I'm wearing I might be wearing just like full on braces up to the knees, like those high top knee boots that girls wear.
Yeah,
just to be safe.
You're gonna look like Ben Roethlisberger after any start, just braces everywhere and ice packs, just preventative.
Yeah, I'm gonna look like basically like Greg Oden did when he was still playing.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. This is a sad episode of the Sports Stance. It should be joyous, Greg. It should be celebratory.
Yeah. Hey, I'm kind of glad we're doing it a day after the NBA season started. We're gonna try Monday, but this just gave us so much more.
This gives us a leg up because everyone's season previews, that you read them on ESPN, you read them on Sports Illustrated, you read them on The Ringer, you read them on all these other NBA sites, and every single one of them was talking about the Celtics as a title contender, and now we promptly got that out of the way. We don't need to talk about that at all. 6 minutes in.
No, we can just talk about like where they may end up, and it's definitely not number one.
Yeah, exactly. So our laziness actually ended up working out in our favor, which
congrats for us. Go us.
Almost never happens. Occasionally this will shine through, and this is one of these moments. So
good on us.
Take positive with the negative.
Podcasters learn from our accomplishments.
Right. We're going to get into a lot this time, Greg. We're going to get into we're going to talk a little bit of the NFL, and we're going to talk about the MLB a little bit because the playoffs are pretty exciting right now.
Yep.
Primarily, we're going to be talking NBA, though. We're very excited for the season to start. Some more than others. Looking at me.
Yeah, you're the NBA guy. I mean, this is your episode to shine.
This is it, man. This is where there's the NBA James and there's the non-NBA James, and we're about to enter prime NBA James season, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, NFL, you actually sadly may somehow take a back seat. I don't know.
It's ugly, definitely. I mean, those Sundays still hold a spot in my heart, but now I have something to watch every single night, which is pretty exciting.
Daily fantasy just gets a lot better when NBA starts because it's one of those ones that you can do a little more often than the NFL. The NFL tries, but it's not like the NBA.
Right, you can really dabble.
Yep.
Before we get into any of that, though, Greg, before we talk about the season that's upcoming in the NBA, before we talk about the NLCS and the ALCS and all the Week 6 action in the NFL.
Yeah, it's all like a jumble right now.
How you doing? What's new with you?
I'm doing pretty good. Had family come up this past weekend, so it was pretty nice. And then I'm going to New Jersey now this weekend to go to an event known as The Hunt, where it's really just people that don't have a lot of money who know people that do have a lot of money go to an event where it's just an all-day drinking, like 8 in the morning to 8 at night horse racing event where you don't pay attention to the horses, you just get blitzed. Yeah,
I've seen your snaps. I've seen Zip snaps.
Yeah, it's where I tend to see him. It's my 1 year gathering with him, basically.
I thought that he was in like Italy or something like that the last time I checked, but maybe he's
I don't know if he'll be there for this one, so that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, well, it seems like a good time to hunt.
Yeah.
Good, man. Sounds good.
Yeah. What about you? How was your soiree this past weekend?
Good soiree. The best part about hosting a party with a lot of people is they all we're getting to the age where most people just kind of bring beer and then just kind of like just leave it.
Yep.
So I literally have like a fridge full of beer, just tons of beer.
How far do you live from me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. Like I have like 50 beers that are just like chilling in my fridge right now. Like so much beer that I need to drink it in order to make room for anything else you want to put in the fridge, which is fine by me. I'll drink it.
Yeah, but obviously twist your arm.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that's the highlight. We cooked a lot and everything went off smoothly and everyone had a great time. But
that's all I can ask for.
The beer in the fridge really, kind of nailed it for how
housewarming it went. Everybody just left their beer for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not gonna complain.
No.
All right, let's get into it. How do we want to start this? Do we want to go with the other sports first and then finish off with the little NBA preview?
I think we go NBA preview, and then if people want to stick around, or if they don't want to hear NBA at all, they can just jump to the end and catch the other sports.
All right, let's rock and roll. NBA season officially started last night. The Celtics. Well, I mean, when you guys are actually hearing this, it's going to be 2 nights ago. You get the idea.
You get it.
The Celtics lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe it was like 109, 102, 112.
No, I thought it was 102.99.
102.99. Sorry, yeah, I knew it was by 3 points.
Yeah.
And then the Golden State Warriors lost their home opener to the Houston Rockets on ring night.
So
no
nice.
less.
I blame their whole ring delay. That ceremony took forever.
It wasn't a long ceremony. I mean, I heard a lot of talk about it too. It was a little weird because it was like Kevin Durant was not featured necessarily as much as people thought that he was going to be. So there's already maybe a little manufactured animosity happening. But anyways.
Yeah, it was a weird ceremony. It's bad and long when ESPN has to put in their little thing, Rockets Warriors delayed, because it's just so long off their tip-off time that they're like, we can't really say much else. It's delayed by like a half hour because this is ridiculous.
Right. The big news coming out of last night, obviously, besides the Rockets and Warriors and the Celtics and Cavs, is the Gordon Hayward injury.
Oh,
about 6 minutes into the game, Hayward went up for an alley-oop from Isaiah Thomas, and to say that he landed awkwardly does an injustice to...
From who?
Who did I say?
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, wow, Freudian slip. Alley-oop from Kyrie Irving.
There you go.
The ball was a little behind him, and he kind of made a weird adjustment mid-air and landed on a foot, and it was one of the more gruesome injuries I've seen on a basketball court in a long time.
It's one of those ones that when usually if somebody goes down, they might show you and you're like, okay, they're grabbing their like knee, they're grabbing their shin, they're hurt. I don't think there's only a few times. The Paul George injury is the only other one that comes to mind immediately where they showed it, not realizing how bad it was.
Right. Yeah, ESPN did not totally understand that was not suitable for life.
No, they cut to it because I don't even think they knew how bad it was at first. They just saw the reaction. They're like, "Oh, his leg must have like just snapped or something," and they cut it.
I think that the camera guy or the guy that was controlling the camera guy had the same reaction that everybody did. Was like, "Oh wow, his shoe's kind of off."
Yeah.
And then they realized that his foot was going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's not time for making jokes, but all I thought was like he tried to slide to the left and his foot was like, I'm going to slide to the right. And that's how it looked.
Ugh, it was tough. You knew it was, what I realized it was bad? Everyone kind of had like a moment of realization where like they realized that this was not your run of the mill injury and that's really bad.
Yeah.
Mine was when Kevin Harlan started saying it because like normally it's like, oh, and this person's down, like Hayward's down and some, we need a trainer to come over here and the Hayward's down. But immediately, and when Kevin Harlan saw it, the announcer, he was like, oh, he broke his leg. Oh, he broke his leg. Oh, and he started saying it like that. And I was like, that's not how you're supposed to sound.
No, that's not how you keep people calm.
No, that's someone who's panicking.
The Cavs bench alone, you knew it was bad because guys react to injuries, but that whole bench. And
they were doing the same reaction that all of us were doing, which is just run away from it. Like, let's just look away and run away as fast as possible.
The best is not the best, but the funniest is kind of like the people that didn't notice what had happened already. Like Jay Crowder had no idea what had just happened. He has the ball in his hand. He's inbounding. He's about to like run down the court, and all of a sudden he stops and he looks and he's just like, "Oh, what the?" Yeah.
It's never good when they're evoking names like Paul George and Kevin Ware and Sean Livingston. Like. Yeah. Those are like your Mount Rushmore of like gruesome like basketball injuries, and now Gordon Hayward's on there, and that's just not good. It's not good.
His diagnosis is better though than I think a lot of people expected potentially.
They thought it was seems to be like a clean break, however you want to describe that.
Tibia and dislocated his ankle.
But I think it's safe to say that you're probably not going to see him back this season.
I mean, best case scenario is maybe depending on how fast he heals, could return for a playoff run.
Yeah, but even that is like,
may not want to just, you may want to give him a full 15
year. Minutes of him sort of thing. So it's not, for all intents and purposes, Hayward's not going to be on this team this year, and that's really tough. He just signed a $128 million contract.
Can they redshirt him for 1 year?
I don't know, man. So six minutes into his season too, and I don't even want to like pretend that this is not an overreaction, but for those 6 minutes he was actually playing well. Yeah. Like he was playing defense and he had a bucket and he was he was doing all the things that we thought he was going to do, which is add some athleticism to the wing and add some defense. He's their best two-way player. It's not even all that close.
No.
And to see him go down, that all Celtics fans had the same kind of reaction, which was like, wow, if we ever had a puncher's chance of getting to the finals, that just got stretchered off the floor. That chance.
All right, Kyrie, let's see how good you really are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some Celtics fans, I'm not going to, obviously compare the quality of player Gordon Hayward to Tom Brady by any stretch of the imagination, but the closest thing that you can think of is in 2008, where you were like the first game of the season, you watch your whole season go up in flames from one play early on, Or
you think you're going to see the whole season go up in flames, and then Matt Castle comes in. I don't know, maybe is Jaylen Brown or like one of those guys, the Matt Castle of this team, where they give him a fighter's chance to make the championship, the playoffs.
No, I know that you're a long-suffering Eagles fan, Greg, and that Matt Castle season wasn't actually over, but they did make the playoffs. That means the season was over.
Yeah, so I understand that, but he was 11.
Super Bowl or bust, pal.
They were 11-5 that year, though. Still,
that's not good enough. If you're not in the playoffs, it's not good enough. You're out.
Most years, that's a good enough record to be in the playoffs.
You're at 5-1, and all of a sudden you're like, let's throw a fucking ticker tape parade. That's not happening.
6-0 in fantasy football. Just throwing that out there too, folks.
Anyways, that was a really gruesome injury, and that was like the main storyline to come out of this year. So, with that being said, let's get into like a preview of what the rest of the season is going to look like now that we kind of have a lay of the land a little bit.
Yeah.
You had a couple questions that you wanted to pose to start the season.
Yeah, we'll go with we can mix in some questions, and then we'll mix in like just basically straight out predictions of who's going to win what. We'll start with who's going to win what. Now that we've seen basically the teams that we all thought were going to be the top 2 seeds play on opening night.
Right.
Because unless you think Thunders maybe could be number 2. Who wins the West and who wins the East just this year? We can start with the West though.
I'd say even let's do top 4 of the West.
All right, that's fine too.
And top 4 of the East, because we all know who's going to win the West. I think it's pretty clear that the Warriors are going to win the West.
It's waiting for you to shock me, but okay.
Even if they're 0-1. So the top 4 seeds of the West, I think for me, they go Warriors. I'm gonna go Warriors, Thunder, Rockets, Spurs.
All right.
So I am gonna put the Thunder ahead of the Rockets. After seeing some of the stuff from that game last night from Houston, I really just don't know how well Chris Paul meshes with James Harden. That whole, not even just James Harden, but the whole Rockets offensive scheme. Like the Rockets are such a go team, and let's push the pace.
Yeah.
And Paul is, and shoot threes and get to the rim. And Paul is much more of a let's set up the half court and shoot jumpers from the elbow kind of guy. So that's a weird fit. He didn't have a great game last night. He kind of harassed Steph a little bit, but other than that, he didn't have a great game.
No, I get it.
So I really do think that the Thunder are going to end up getting that 2nd seed, and the Rockets getting the 3rd seed. And then you can't really ever count out the Spurs. So I'm going to put the Spurs at number 4.
All right. I can see that. I'm basically on the same with you. Put the Warriors at number 1 again, unless there's an injury of some catastrophic nature to 2 of their best players. It had to be more than just Durant or somebody like that, because we saw last year Durant went down for how many games and they were fine.
You could even any of their players you could lose theoretically, and still get the number 1 seed.
Yeah, like if you lose Steph, you lose Clay, you lose any of those guys, you're basically fine. You have somebody to replace them that can at least give some of that production back. And then the rest are just going to pick it up even more, because then it's going to be a little more selfish. So Warriors will be number 1, barring any terrible injuries. I think that go offense of the Rockets is actually going to, be good this year. I think Chris Paul is a piece that they need it. I get that he's a year older, not the best defender, but I think having basically 2 point guards with him and Harden running it and going back and forth adds a new element, dynamic to that team, and stretches that floor even more than it was, because that team's just full of shooters. And I mean, if you can hit threes at least 50% of the time, 40% of the time in the game, and you're taking 50 threes a night, it's going to go well for you overall in the long run. I'm actually going to put the Spurs at 3, just because I think Popovich has some sort of coaching magic that he figures that out every year. And mainly because of Kawhi Leonard, which I will get into more later on. And then I'm going to put the Thunder at 4. And my only reason is I think they're going to take a little bit of time to fully gel and get that team working together as well as they can be. Granted, once they are, they're probably going to be one of the top 2 teams in the West. But I think it's going to take a little bit. They're going to have some stumbles along the way. And I think because of that, they come in at a 4. But I think it's going to be a close top 4. I think it's going to be like a 2-3 game difference. I don't think the Warriors are going to be as far ahead this year as they have been in the past.
I think that's a fair take. I totally understand the idea that the Thunder are going to struggle a little bit coming out of the gate, but I honestly think that the Spurs, I think they're going to, in years past, never been one.
Hold on, you're cutting out. I can't hear you. Something moved and it lost you. Say that again. You got really staticky really quick. Nope.
You there?
Yep. Oh, what the hell? I just lost you again. How did it go from you there to nothing? Yeah, try unplugging one more time.
What about now?
Keep talking.
You there? Hello.
Yep. All right.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1. From where you're saying with the Spurs.
I think that I don't think that Popovich has ever been someone to rely on a single player as much as he's going to have to rely on Kawhi Leonard this year. He's always been a guy that's more about system and ball movement and all that kind of stuff. And this year is going to be much more reliant on Kawhi, who I think is up for the task. Don't get me wrong, but the complementary players around him aren't nearly as good as some of these other guys on these teams, like the Rockets and the Thunder. So I think that by sheer will they're going to get to the 4 seed, but I don't see them getting to that number 3 or 2 seed like they have in years past.
All right.
The East is more interesting now, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting in the sense of like we don't really know what's going to happen, but not necessarily interesting in the sense of like we don't know who's going to come out of the East. So who do you have for your top 4 in the Eastern Conference?
This is where it's hard now with the Hayward injury. I'm going to go, obviously, Cavs number 1, clear number 1, best team by far. You still got LeBron, who looks like he hasn't aged at all, at least playing-wise. Hairline-wise, definitely.
Right.
But, I mean, so Cavs, clear favorites, number 1 seed. Going to be easy now, I think, without Hayward in Boston. Now it gets hard, though. Right. I look at all the teams and I really it's like who right now the Bucks I think are projected to be the number 2 seed based on preseason stuff. I don't know. I think the Wizards actually are going to be the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
I think the Celtics get the 3, and then I think the Bucks get the 4 because they're still a young team. They're still trying to figure it out, but I think getting to that 4 seed is going to be a huge jump for them in general. But it's a jump they're going to be able to make mainly because of Giannis. And I think obviously Kyrie wills the Celtics to the 3 seed, and the Wizards, I think just Beal and Wall are probably one of the best backcourts in the league. And just because of those 2 alone and not much other competition in the East, they get the 2.
Yeah, I think I'm basically with you. I would probably go Cavaliers, Wizards. I would honestly probably actually go. I really want to go with the Bucks, but I probably wouldn't go for the Bucks, until like 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna go Cavs, Wizards, Raptors at number 3, just out of sheer they've got adults on their team sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got like real, living and breathing NBA players that are all experienced. Like even if I think that you're not getting anywhere with Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and Serge Ibaka, like you still got Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and Serge Ibaka. That's an adult NBA team that's played together for a while. They're gonna do well in the. They had the 2nd seed not that long ago. No, the 1st seed not that long ago. 2nd or 1st seed not that long ago.
They were they were like a game away from 1st, I think, like 2 years ago.
Right. So I think that I think that combination, is going to really help, especially against some of these young squads in the East who are still kind of trying to gel. And then 4 seed, I'll probably go with the Celtics. I'm not super confident about it. It's crazy to me to think that Gordon Hayward is worth, 3 spots, but really that's not, that big a jump if you think about it.
No.
Last year's conference, that's the difference of like, 5 or 6 wins maybe. And I think that he is worth that. I think that he's legitimately worth 5 or 6 wins.
Especially on that team. That team is so young and so newly put together.
Right. They needed
4 people that returned.
Who could do everything. I think Jaylen Brown showed a lot yesterday, but he's still a second-year player. I don't know how consistent that's going to be.
There's going to be a lot of pressure put on his shoulders now to help fill that void.
Right. So I'm going Cleveland, Wizards, Raptors, Celtics.
All right. Yeah, we're going to keep going with the questions of basically who's going to win what, and then we'll get into the more kind of whatever type questions where it's more opinion-based than anything. Granted, these are also opinion-based, but these are like the standard ones. So next we're going to go with who wins MVP this year. We had Russell Westbrook win it last year. Steph Curry the 2 years before that. Westbrook, as we remember, averaged a triple-double for an entire season. Super impressive. Probably not going to be doing that this year with Paul George and Carmelo. So without that happening, who wins MVP this year?
I think there's 3 main candidates right now. That might be actually a little controversial that I'm saying 3 main candidates because none of them have been I guess not none of them, sorry. But they haven't been like the main candidates so far, like the last few years. I'm not saying Steph, I'm not saying Russ, I'm not saying KD, I'm not saying Harden. I think all those guys kind of got help this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Steph and KD withstanding, but they already had their help. I'm actually going to say that there's 3 candidates. I'd say that there's LeBron. I'd say that there's Kawhi and Kyrie.
All right.
I think those are the 3. I think that there's, the chips are in place for those 3. Like LeBron, if he wills his team to like 56, 57 wins, number 1 seed, he puts together another vintage LeBron season, and it just looks like he's kind of unstoppable. I especially now that he lost his his running mate sort of thing. Yep. I think that's huge. Kawhi again kind of harkens back to what I was talking about, where he doesn't really have a lot around him. The most exciting thing that happened to the Spurs this offseason is that they just signed LaMarcus Aldridge to a big extension, who I don't think that was really a great idea.
No, it was not. I agree with you.
And then finally you have Kyrie, who wasn't really in consideration before this, but if he wills his team to like a 3rd or even a 2nd seed, which is probably unreasonable to ask of him, but if he does, I think that merits some MVP consideration. I really do.
Yeah, he wanted to be the man, and if he can do that, he will be the man.
Isaiah Thomas was number 5 in the voting last year, and I think that people like Kyrie a little bit more. And, especially if he does a little bit more with a little bit less, I think that's a real thing for him.
He's also a little flashier, and people like that.
Yeah, I would probably, my safe money, I think, would be on Kawhi. Because of his two-way potential, because he's a little bit younger, because I think the Spurs are going to outperform the Cavaliers overall in terms of wins, and because I do think that Kawhi is working with just a little bit less than LeBron, just because he's got old power forwards he's got to drag up and down the floor, and Gasol and Aldridge, whereas LeBron, has some spry three-point shooters that he can kind of rely on. But I think it's pretty close, so I'm going to go with Kawhi, but I don't feel great about it.
Well, James, I'm not an NBA expert by any means. I'm not like you in any way. But basically, I was thinking the same thing. I was going to go with Kawhi as my MVP pick, mainly because if he can will the Spurs to a 3 seed, like I was saying before, I mean, he's going to do it on defense. He's going to do it on offense if he stays healthy and pushes that team above expectations in that already stacked West. How can you deny him that? I mean, people are going to basically every year now, it's who can do something equal to LeBron stats wise. Whoever it is, they get MVP at this point, it seems, because LeBron just does it every year. And at this point, it seems like last year with Westbrook triple double, you had to give it to him. But the previous year with Steph, you could have easily given it to LeBron. And a lot of people still think he may should have, just because Steph got it because of 3-pointers. But LeBron did it offense, defense, and Kawhi is that same type. I think he gets it. The dark horse is Kyrie now with the injuries, but overall, I think safe money, like you said, is on Kawhi.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, anything else that you want to say about this this series or this Award before we go on?
I think not MVP. I think league awards. I don't know. Do we care about rookie of the year really?
I think we do. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting. I think this is a really interesting time of year. So let's.
Good ask. We got 2 more awards. Then we got rookie and sixth man because they're the other 2 big ones, and then we'll get into those few other short questions.
I feel I care less about sixth man than I do about rookie of the year. I think rookie of the year is important.
All right, then can I just give my quick? Want to give a name out for sixth man then before rookie of the year?
All right, shoot.
All right, my sixth man of the year is going to be J.R. Smith. Plain and simple, he's coming off the bench now. He's going to be providing a lot of scoring off the bench, I think, for the Cavs because, Wade kicked him out of the starting lineup. So you've seen in the past, it's guys that can shoot, make some plays that are sixth man. Last year was Eric Gordon. Year before that was Lou Williams. I think the year before that was Andre Iguodala. So it's all these guys that can come off the bench, provide some points. I think that's what J.R. Smith is going to do this year for the Cavs and help them.
That's probably a good pick.
I try.
Eric Gordon last night made his case very clear about how he should retain the title.
Yeah. But it'll be a fun battle, I think, this year between a few guys.
Marcus Smart was probably in line to get some sort of consideration before he got forced into the starting lineup again, but we'll see. Okay, rookie of the year I think is very interesting. We've got the great Lonzo. We have Ben Simmons, who is going to be, for all intents and purposes, a starting point guard. Markelle Fultz is coming off the bench, but he's taken number 1 overall, so you have to at least consider him. Dennis Smith Jr. for Dallas, I think, is a really interesting pick.
Still a rookie because I feel like he is.
Yeah, seriously. Dennis Smith was a really interesting pick. I think that he's a huge steal in the draft, to be totally honest with you. I think that more people should have taken a look at him. De'Aaron Fox for Sacramento. I think that he's a great pick for it. And then finally, my bias is showing, but Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was already starting before Hayward was even out. And then he's going to be asked to do a lot more offensively. Despite Jaylen Brown's huge offensive performance last night, Tatum is much more gifted offensively than Brown is, just naturally.
He also had a solid night last night.
Yep. He had a solid night. He had 14 and 10 in his rookie debut against, playing the same basic wing position as LeBron James. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that Jaylen Brown can't shoot threes as well as Tatum. Tatum has better footwork. He has better offensive instincts. And now with Hayward out, it's going to be up to these young guns to really kind of prove something. Yeah, so I know that it's silly for me to keep talking about Celtics, but that's if Tatum averages somewhere like 16 points a game for for a top seed in the East, that's a better case in my opinion than Lonzo Ball, who's going to be averaging maybe 9 points and 8 assists on a bad Lakers team, or Ben Simmons for that matter, who's going to get very overshadowed by Embiid if Embiid ends up playing a full season.
Yeah.
I think that the dark horses are more challenging to Tatum right now than anything else, like De'Aaron Fox and Dennis Smith Jr., who are both incredibly explosive. But I think that Tatum, now with the increased role, and he's already starting for this really good team, I think that he's got a really legitimate shot.
No, I think you're definitely right about that, especially with the Hayward injury. It's something that we keep coming back to this podcast, but
it's tough not to. It's kind of overshadowing everything.
It has ripples going through the whole NBA with what's going to happen with different people and different guys in the league. And it's going to make things interesting. My rookie of the year, like I said, I'm not like you. I'm not an expert. So, I look at the field, I figure out who is the most logical to win based on playing time. Tatum's a very good pick. De'Aaron Fox, like you said, in Sacramento would be a smart pick. He's going to be clearly a focus there. But I'm going to trust the process and go with the guy who probably could have had a chance to win it last year with Ben Simmons. Yes, I understand if Embiid plays well, he's going to get overshadowed. Fultz is coming off the bench. He has a lot of competition in general and a lot of things to get through. But if this guy can stay healthy, I think he's going to be something special. I think he's going to make a case this year to be one of the up-and-coming rising stars in the league. He can score, he can pass, he can do it all. He's not a short guy by any means, but he's going to be running the point where you're used to seeing, 6'1" type guys. So, he adds that different element to it. He's becoming like a Giannis, or like that's what the Sixers are hoping he becomes, that bigger point guard that can do a lot and really run that offense up and down the court, play good defense. I think if he plays well, stays healthy, averages, he could easily average 15, 16 points just like Tatum. I think he'll eclipse him with assists and potentially rebounds just because. And if he does all of that, I'm going to give my money to him and put my money on the process.
I think he's got to prove that he can score at a high level before I give him MVP Rookie of the Year consideration. Just because I especially for these awards are usually a little bit based on numbers, less so on just kind of watching the game and feel for the game. Michael Carter Williams winning MVP or Rookie of the Year a few years ago is probably a pretty good example of that. Where they base it on numbers, and he was a super high volume shooter, so he got a lot of points naturally. But I don't think that Simmons has enough scoring potential. It's the same knock against Lonzo, to be totally honest with you. I don't think he has a scoring potential to kind of wow voters enough to give them Rookie of the Year. The Rookie of the Year is a little bit more superficial than like an MVP. It's like who can prove that they can hang at this level.
Yeah, don't let LeVar have a vote. Points, that's all I ask. Just don't let LeVar have a vote.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's Rookie of the Year conversation, Greg. Anything else you want to add to it?
No, not much. I think we can get into the rest of our questions where it's a little more just personal opinions, maybe, a little fun. I know the last question I have on here is more of just poking fun at basically the suckiest players in the NBA. Teaser.
That's tough. The real answer is that the suckiest players in the NBA, I don't know their names.
Yeah. So these would be the suckiest players that we do know, basically. My last question is.
Yeah, that's fair.
For fun. So that's our teaser. So stick with us or just skip ahead, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Next question up. Who is going to be this year's Greek freak? So last year, past year or so, Giannis has really exploded on the scene in the NBA. People are really starting to notice him. He's now this year been talked about way more as the new king. He's like the prince right now. And when LeBron goes and leaves, he'll be crowned the new king of the NBA just because of how talented he is. Who in the NBA right now, who's maybe, rookie, second year type guy, do you think can maybe start making the steps to become that guy?
Well, I think the easy answer after preseason is Kyle Kuzma. This guy's been lighting up the fucking internet. Like everyone loves Kuzma on the Lakers. No, I think a guy that people should pay attention to a little bit from this year's draft, who dropped a lot and is going to be put into a pretty nice situation, is Malik Monk from the Hornets. I don't think that he's going to necessarily be, there's no one who's going to be like Giannis just because at a sheer physical level, there's no one who has that speed, length, acceleration, explosiveness. He's basically Kevin Durant with LeBron James's athleticism. It's like there's no one. If he develops a jump shot, like you might as well pack up the league. It's over. So I don't think anyone's going to be like him in that sense, but I do think that Monk could be like him in the sense that he falls to middle of the draft or kind of late lottery, and then people are like, what the fuck were they doing passing on that guy? So the guards that were taken ahead of Malik Monk were Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, De'Aaron Fox, Frankie Nicotine from the New York Knicks, Dennis Smith Jr., and then finally Monk was taken. Those were all the guards that were taken in front of Monk, and Monk is by far the best shooter out of all of them. And in today's NBA, what do you want? You want a three-point shot, So I think that he's someone that you should really keep an eye out for, especially in Charlotte, where he does not have to be the guy. It's still Kemba Walker's team. He's got Nick Batum eventually when Batum comes back, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and even Dwight Howard's there now. He doesn't have to be the guy, but that kind of gives him enough leeway where he can just kind of play off ball and focus on getting better at the NBA things he's not great at. So I would say Malik Monk is a little sneaky guy you should pay attention to.
I'm not going to lie. That question was literally just for you because I don't know the NBA well enough to answer that question. I knew you would. So, yeah, Malik Monk, totally agree.
Malik Monk, Charlotte Hornets, book it.
Also totally forgot Dwight Howard was on the Hornets.
Yes, you did.
It's one of those guys, like it's one of those games that everybody should play every year is where did this former all-star center go? And it's just where did Dwight Howard go this year?
Yep.
See how many did I know?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. So Malik Monk. All right, I'll keep my eye out on him and use him in daily fantasy. And if I lose my money, I blame you.
Fair enough.
What surprise team makes the playoffs in both the East and the West? I can start if you want, or you can go.
Why don't you start? Because I've been answering a lot.
All right, I'm going to start. I want to start in the East. I'm going to go with the Pistons. I mean, you look at the East, it is a clusterfuck basically of teams of who could potentially make the playoffs, who may not. The Pistons was a team last year everybody thought had a good shot to be a 7 or 8 seed. I don't think they lived up to what their potential could have been. I feel like they could have been one of those teams that slips in, makes their case, maybe has a little surprise run. They did not. The reason I'm really just going to put all my trust in them, James, is because they got Boban Marjanovic. I loved him when he was on the Spurs. He's just the goofiest looking guy in the world. To me, he looks like, have you ever seen the movie Real Big Fish?
Yeah.
He looks like the giant in the movie Real Big Fish. So that's basically the only reason I'm going with the Pistons. I mean, they got Andre Drummond. I'm not kidding. Besides Boban, they also have Avery Bradley. I actually think Bradley is going to bring an element to that team that they had been missing. It's a strong defensive-minded player who can also put up points. I think that is kind of a culture that will spread. Van Gundy, I think, wants a guy like that as his leader on the team, and I think Bradley can take that role. I think the Pistons slip in, maybe even as a 6 seed, just because the East is so wide open at the bottom. And maybe they make a little noise in the playoffs. Who knows? But that's going to be my surprise team that makes it in the East.
Yeah, I totally agree with the Pistons, especially if Drummond can do literally anything with his free throw shooting. If you can improve that at all, I think that he can get back. People forget about Drummond because he's been in the league for so long. The guy's 24 years old. Just want to throw that out there. He's younger than Kyrie Irving. He's younger than everyone on the Warriors. He's younger than he's only a year older than Giannis, right? So everyone's sucking Giannis's dick about being the next best thing. Drummond is only slightly a year older than Giannis. So that's a great pick.
Thank you.
My pick is, I don't know if this is a surprise team, but it is. I mean, it's so because they're so bad last year, but I'd say the Pelicans, almost kind of by process of elimination, in the same way that the East is really deft of good teams at the bottom. The West is too. So you have your Warriors, you have your Thunder, Rockets, Spurs. I think the Clippers probably get in as well. The Trailblazers have been in the last few years. And then you have the Timberwolves, right? I think that those are the 6, but you still need 2 extra playoff teams. So you're going to give it to the Grizzlies, who lost a decent amount of people, basically betting on Marc Gasol. Are you going to give it to, I don't know, the Blazers were in there before, obviously. I think I already said them, actually.
Yeah.
Are you going to give it to the Mavericks, who have, a 40-year-old Dirk Nowitzki and Nerlens Noel who can't shoot?
Love it.
Maybe Dennis Smith. You might give it to the Nuggets because of Millsap and Jokic and Jokic. I can't remember which guy's on the Nuggets sometimes, but
okay.
I mean, so you have a couple candidates, but just by sheer talent alone, it has to be the Pelicans, right? They have to make the playoffs this year, or else this whole thing is a total bust and they have to blow it all up. Just from sheer talent, they have Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, and I don't care about the rest of your fucking team. You got to figure that out and make the goddamn playoffs.
Those 2 should get you a 6 seed, 7 seed minimum.
That should get you into the playoffs, those 2. And how do they not get you into the playoffs is my question.
I don't know, but you're making me feel way better about my NBA knowledge than I thought I ever did, because that's my surprise team in the West too, just because of how bad that experiment seemed to go last year. This year, hopefully you're thinking maybe a whole offseason working together, it gels better. And, I mean, how can it not? You also bring in Tony Allen, who's going to get his number retired by the Grizzlies, even though he's still an active player. That's how great a Grizzly he was, apparently. But that's where Tony Allen also ended up, if you didn't know. That's another one of those guys. But he's defensive-minded. He, that's basically all he is. He's a defensive player. Offensive, forget about him. But you got DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. What else do you need on the offensive end?
They also have Rajon Rondo, so they're basically just being let's get all the Kentucky alumni we possibly can get into one place and just hope something good happens.
Bringing Calipari in disguise.
Why not?
Why not?
So I say the Pelicans. If not, you got to blow it up. That's my thing.
If it's not working,
blow it up.
If it's not working by All-Star break, blow it up, get some money, and get some picks, get some players, get some young guys back for Davis and Cousins while you can.
Right, exactly. All right, Greg, what are the questions we have to answer?
Next, we got 2 left for NBA preview. What good team is actually bad?
Ooh, I like this question. What good team is actually bad? I really actually do like this question a lot.
I try. I do it for James, but I also do it for us.
Yeah, definitely. What good team is actually bad?
It's a simple answer, James.
I think that every team in the Eastern Conference you can look at, you can't say that one team is actually bad, because they all could be actually bad, except for like the Cavaliers. Cavaliers and Wizards, I think, are kind of immune, but everyone else, like, you could make a case to me like the rest of these teams are actually bad, and I'm totally fine with it.
You have the whole NBA to choose from, though. This isn't just a league specific side. This is
no, I know. So you have to look at the Western Conference, in my opinion. I would say that like every single year I buy into the Timberwolves hype, and like they have to do something for me in order for the Timberwolves to actually be believed. Like everyone is just kind of penciling the Timberwolves in as like playoff team, and their over under this year, by the way, is like 13 games higher than last year because I got Jimmy Butler and
so Thibodeau magic.
Here's the thing: who is shooting the three on the Timberwolves?
Can Karl Anthony Towns hit a 3?
Kind of.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You got your outside big 5 guy on the outside.
Yeah, so that's my question. Who is shooting the 3 on the Timberwolves here? Because it's not going to be Wiggins, it's not going to be Butler, it's not going to be Towns. I even forget who their point guard is at this point because I traded Rubio.
Oh, is it Jeff Teague?
Jeff Teague. And Jeff Teague is literally like replacement level player. Like he's fine. So if Jeff Teague is your hope for the 3, like their spacing is going to be horrible. They haven't figured out their defense with Karl Anthony Towns. And how is Andrew Wiggins going to adapt to being a third option? He's a third option now. He's not even. And he's a terrible draft. He's not even the second best player on his team right now.
Terrible defender too. So he's not giving much of that team unless he's putting up 30 points a night and maybe stealing the ball once a game. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually saw the Timberwolves twice last year, and both times, like. You know how you get your ESPN notification when a team ends the game and they give you like the 2 best performers on the team or whatever, like, oh, LeBron had 26, 8, and 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
So both times I saw the Timberwolves last year, Wiggins literally like scored all of his points in garbage time when his team was down 20. And then you would get the notification at the end of the game, like from ESPN, and be like, oh, Wiggins had 21 points. Be like, well, 17 of them were in the fourth quarter when no one gave a shit
against the end
backups.
of the bench.
So like, what are we doing here? So I feel like Wiggins is that kind of player right now in his career. Maybe he gets better. I mean, I think he's got some raw skills, but I don't know. I think that people are scared penciling in the Timberwolves for being really good, and they might not be.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. My good team that is actually bad, I was looking at the Raptors really hard just because they've been like you said, they were a 2 seed a few years ago. Last year, I think they were 3 or 4. I forget exactly what. And they should be good. They got DeMar DeRozan, they got Kyle Lowry, 2 really good backcourt players. They got Ibaka, who you said is, it's a man's team. They're grown up. They should be able to take control of at least part of the East and finish in that top 4. I just don't think they're going to do it. I mean, yeah, the East, you can make a case, like you said, for everybody except the Wizards and the Cavs, and until last night, the Celtics probably. But the Raptors, to me, are still just that team that people just keep buying into year after year. And they shouldn't. DeMar DeRozan is literally just like, I signed a big contract, now trade me. Trade me to LA. Trade me somewhere else. I don't want to be here. Trade me to the stacked West. And it just makes no sense. Kyle Lowry is literally the Eddie Lacy of the NBA, where you don't know if he's going to come in fat, skinny, what's going to happen to him halfway through the season. Is he going to get hurt? Probably, because he always gets hurt. And then Serge Ibaka is a good, decent forward. But if they're not playing that great, they're not going to do that well. They could easily go from a top 4 team in the East to on the fringe of missing the playoffs, I think, very easily. And so they are my good team that's actually bad. My only other team I was looking at as a possibility was going to be the Clippers, but I like DeAndre Jordan and Griffin way too much to think that they're actually bad.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past the Clippers.
All right.
Yeah, pretty good.
Last question of our NBA preview before we move on to some short NFL and MLB talk. James, if you had to look at one player in the league, just one, that you think you could handle for one-on-one basketball, who would it be?
One-on-one. You know who I was actually reminded of? I saw that Jose Calderon is on the Cavs last night.
He is.
I think I could beat Jose Calderon.
Do you know how tall Jose Calderon is? I just want to know.
I don't know. He's prototypical guard size. He's probably like 6'4".
He's 6'3", which I always thought he was like 5'11".
Right.
Like he looks like JJ Barea is like 5'5", but he's actually 5'11". But no, I could see that. He was actually one of the people I was thinking of, but I'm a little bigger, weight wise. So I had to think outside the box of who do I think I could at least body up and have a chance against. And I think you're going to like who I came up with, James.
All right, shoot.
Raymond Felton.
That's actually probably pretty good.
Yeah, he is a larger fellow for the point guard position. I think if I just body him enough, I will get exhausted and winded, but so will he. And I got a decent jump shot from the outside, and I think if it comes down to it, I could hit more three-pointers than he could, because at the end of the game, neither of us is going to be driving, where both of us going to be like doing that heavy, is it water break yet? Is that an ice cream truck over there? Do you just want to quit and go get the ice cream? Like, I think it's going to be kind of like that.
Raymond Felton's actually a great choice. I'm proud of you for that.
I did my research. I looked around. I tried to really find the fattest guy in the league. And then I remembered Raymond Felton.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's like the fattest guy in the league, but he's definitely not.
To be like 7'1", and I wouldn't be able to compete with that.
Right, exactly. Cool. Let's touch on the MLB and the NBA and the NFL really quick. What I think we should do is just give our predictions for the series that are in the MLB right now.
Yeah. So actually, I can give you
games that we're most looking forward to this weekend for the NFL, and we'll get back into it next week.
Yeah. So real quick, I can give you an update on at least the AL side because they're playing at the moment. Yankees were winning. Oh, the Yankees are still winning. So we'll look at the ALCS side first. It's tied 2-2. Basically, Yankees have stormed back in New York. They are up 4-0 in Game 5. So if they win this, they go back to Houston to a chance to clinch Game 6. Do you think the Yankees, the young baby Bombers, have a chance to advance to the World Series and end it all and meet most likely the Dodgers? What do you think Houston somehow comes back?
I really do think that Houston is probably the best team here. So I'm going to go with Houston, but man, the Yankees are really making it difficult for me. I also said that Cleveland was the best team and they were going to win too, and that didn't go over very well. So
you said the Yankees were unnervingly frisky, and it's come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to take full responsibility for unleashing these assholes.
Yeah, I think
it's probably going to be the Yankees, but I would say that like if I had to bet before the series, I would say it's Houston kind of hands down. But it looks like it's probably going to be Yankees. It looks like it's probably going to be Yankees Dodgers for the series. And that's probably pretty fun for ratings and stuff like that, but it definitely makes my skin crawl a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely makes my skin crawl. I'll be fine if – listen, Yankees can make it. It kills me to say that. They can make the World Series. But Dodgers, I think, will crush whoever goes against them at this point.
Their bullpen is virtually unhittable right now.
And the Dodgers starters are just – Kershaw has finally shown he can handle the postseason. They got Hill. They got literally – 3 aces on any team in their first 3 starters. And you shouldn't be able to beat that. Yankees, Judge, I think, will go down swing whiffing all the time. People are going to try to make the argument that, he's a rookie. He, is going to struggle a little bit. Outside of last night's 2 hits, 1 a home run and 1 a double, he has absolutely been trash. But Yankees probably going to win tonight. I'm hoping Verlander pulls out another gem performance in Houston. And if it comes down to one game, I pray for one game Houston can find their bats because they have had no offense this whole series so far.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
maybe pull it out. But the gut says it's going to be Yankees. So it's going to be Yankees, and looking to the NLCS right now, Cubs are down 3-0. Dodgers can clinch tonight. If you're listening to this tomorrow, Dodgers most likely clinched. If not tomorrow, the next game.
Definitely. I think it's also going to be Yankees-Dodgers, but I'd like the Astros to pull this thing out. Like, it's a better story if the Astros win.
Yeah, I actually want to see the Yankees take all 3 at home, and then the Astros go home and just crush them for the final 2 games and really just stomp on all the Yankees who had super high hopes, being like, oh my God, we're actually going to go to the World Series again. Because, it's not like you've never been there before, Yankee fans. Right. Shut up, let other teams have some glory for once.
Definitely.
All right. And then, so as we just said, Dodgers, I mean, do we really have to talk about the NLCS? The Dodgers have just completely shut down the Cubs.
They look good. There's no doubt about it.
I like I saw some guy's shirt from yesterday saying there's always last year for Cubs fans, which is fantastic. I would totally have bought that shirt as a Red Sox fan after like 2004.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm gonna say let's talk about the NFL this weekend. Let's talk about the games we're most excited about.
We should take one other topic into consideration, James.
Shoot.
Aaron Rodgers, good at football, bad at bone density.
That's tough. I don't want to. It's not on him at all about this injury, but he definitely he fell pretty awkwardly. Like if he hadn't stuck his hand out there, I think that he would have been in good shape.
It's just a natural reaction. Basically, the only thing to say about that, terrible. Hopefully he heals up just like Hayward. And the NFL has just been hit with I'm going to use a big word here, plethora of big star injuries. You had J.J. Watt, Odell Beckham. You had Spencer Ware for the Chiefs. You have Rodgers now, Dalvin Cook. Just a lot of big names went down, and that's terrible to see for the NFL and for fans in general. Do you think the Packers in any way, shape, or form survive the NFC North, which has been competitive, and make the playoffs either as a division winner or wild card winner?
I mean, if they accidentally back in the playoffs, if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, they're not going to do anything. So I think maybe just because of the sheer injuries to the other teams. But the Vikings are good, and the Bears are surprisingly frisky. And then the Lions are decent too. I think it's a competitive division, so I don't think that the Packers are going to actually do anything, especially without Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been the only good thing that they have going for them, so I would be really surprised if they make anything happen without him. They've had a bad defense, they've had a bad offensive line. They only have one playmaker on offense right now. They basically just have the benefit of having the best quarterback in the league. Yep. And he's gotten them to the point that they're at right now. So I think that you're going to watch. It's basically you're going to see how bad they actually are now that he's gone.
Yeah, sorry, Packers fan, Pack Nation, all you shareholders that own the team. Packers aren't making the playoffs this year, mainly because the Vikings, even without Sammy Noodle Arm potentially because of his whole knee issues, you're getting 2-glove Teddy back. So even if Bradford can't go, even if Casey Keenum struggles, Teddy Bridgewater now just happens to be coming off the PUP list and can basically play for the Vikings. Or the Vikings can always take the route of, hey, let's trade Bridgewater and try to get something for him because he's still shown that he could be a decent quarterback when he was playing. But
yeah,
I think the Vikings,
now, which is encouraging.
Yeah, I would say the Vikings or the Lions. It's your division to take. Stafford, show that you're worth the contract that you got. All right, so that's last week. That was just I figured we should at least touch on that.
Give me the games that you're looking forward to this week.
I could be a homer and be like, Monday Night Football, I finally get to watch the Eagles 2 weeks in a row. It'd be fantastic. I'm not going to, though, because, they're against the Redskins. They're going to win. And that's me knocking on wood because I don't want to jinx that team. Even though they are technically one of the better games to look at this week.
That's one of the better games. I wouldn't hate you if you said Eagles-Redskins, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking at the schedule now, and I'm going to go Eagles-Redskins just because the other games are not that fun looking to me. Giants-Seahawks, unless the Giants pull out something out of their ass like they did against Denver. But nothing else is really compelling, and I don't want to take the game that I'm sure you're going to be talking about.
Well, it has to be the main game, right? That's why it's in prime time. It's Falcons-Patriots.
Yeah,
rematch the Super Bowl. Both teams are kind of they have good records, but kind of look shaky. Patriots at home, but they haven't had a really good home record this year. It'll be a really interesting game, I think. I think that the Patriots are in trouble if they can't get through this portion of their schedule. The Patriots' portion of their schedule right now is really tough.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if not for a nullified touchdown, who knows what happens in that Jets game? Because that was a weird, very questionable nullified touchdown.
I mean, they interpreted the rule correctly, if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did.
The Patriots right now have to get through a part of their schedule which has I'm quickly pulling it up here. The Falcons, the Chargers are the week after that, but that's fine. So within the next few weeks, they have the Falcons and the Broncos and the Raiders, and then they have the Steelers later on. They luckily haven't played any games against the Dolphins or the Bills yet, which is positive because we usually do pretty well. But we have within the next 4 weeks, we have 3 quote unquote upper echelon teams, or teams that have at least given the Patriots a really hard time. So they need to get through this portion of their schedule.
Don't also knock the Chargers. The Chargers have been frisky and unnervingly frisky, some might say.
Unnervingly frisky.
Keeping it close. And their defense is not that bad. It's just they tend to lose by 3 points, and that's how the Patriots seem to be winning this year. So, the 2 best games, it seems, are slotted for prime time, and NFL is looking out pretty big with the Falcons-Patriots rematch getting the Sunday night look, and then the Eagles-Redskins getting the Monday night look. So you got to wait till the end of the week for the best games, but James and I think are pretty much in agreement. It's going to be worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else, Greg, before we wrap up this week?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for listening. Thoughts and prayers to all the Celtics fans out there who are hurting from the end of their season. But, hey, we have the Bucks and Giannis tonight, hopefully getting a home win. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hashtag heal up, Hayward. Yeah, that's my own. Take that to the bank and Twitter, folks.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Have a good one.